really warm thank you for coming out today to hear our presenters, to speak about the river on a day when it's beautiful out and you probably would be much rather prefer going out and enjoying the river. Instead, you've decided to join us here on a Saturday afternoon to talk about a very important issue affecting not just the Chilliwack community, but certainly all the communities that rely on the Fraser River. So we're here today to discuss the proposed toxic waste transfer site. And I'm very excited to get started. I wanted to call upon Clarence Pennier to give an Aboriginal greeting, and we acknowledge that we are on unceded Stalo territory, and we're going to start off with an official greeting from the Grand Chief himself.
One of the Grand Chiefs. ACM DCIA. Just wanted to say I'm happy to see you in my language. And my traditional name is Yaluntul. I come from Scouts across the river. But on behalf of all of our people, we want to thank you for coming out this afternoon to talk about and learn more about a very important project that could have an impact on our river. So, thank to all of you for coming out this afternoon.
Thank you. Before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge some of the contributors to this afternoon's event. As you know, it costs a bit of money to put on a gathering of this sort. There were money for ads, the booking of the hall, and the buying of coffee. It all adds up. So I wanted to recognize some of the financial contributors, which would be Watershed Watch Salmon Society, BC Federation of Drift Fishers, Fraser Valley Salmon Society, community members. Some of you may have noticed that I'm Gwen Mahoney, the former MLA for Chilliwack Health, so I even hit up my own party to donate as well, which was kind of fun. So there's a lot of people that were involved in the financial support of today's event. But there are also other people who have been involved in just the grassroots organizing, and I'd like to acknowledge we have a representative here from Water Wealth, and I really want to point out, I can't see him right now, but I saw him earlier, Ernie Craig, who also raised this issue and stood up at that council meeting. I think we really need to recognize Ernie Craig, wherever he is. So to start out, once again, I should go over just a few little rules. This is a controversial topic we're going to be discussing, and I'm sure people have questions or comments they want to make. I'd ask that you try to make your questions or comments around the 1 minute mark. And if there's more time and you feel like you have more to say, we will make sure you have a chance to come up and speak some more on the issue or ask another question. But so that we can get as many voices as possible, try to stick to about a 1 minute mark. And as you see, there'll be a microphone right there in the center, and I'll be moderating today's event. We're going to give a chance for all the speakers to make a presentation and explain their background and their interests in this issue. And at the very end will be the opportunity to either ask a question, or if you want, you can make a statement. Members of the press are here today, so if you have got something to say, here's the time and place to say it. There's also sign-up sheets in the corner. Lena's right over there. If you want to know more of what's going on after this event, you want to be part of the email out list, please do put your hand up. She'll come around and make sure that you're signed on so that you can stay in the loop. So, without further ado, I'm going to call Grand Chief Clarence Pennier back up to the front. He's going to be our first presenter today. Grand Chief Clarence Pennier is currently the Stalo Tribal Council Manager and a manager, or council member, and a manager for Aboriginal Rights and Title. Now, you first served as a Scowlitz member council for 6 years, and then chief for 14 years. And you served on many local, regional, and national committees, including culture, district rep and vice rep to the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, and chairman of the Stalo Tribal Council. But also, I noted, you've been married for 40 years. Now that's something to be recognized. And from what I understand, you live near Lake Erie, and you have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. So it's a pleasure to have you here today. And after your presentation, if you want to sneak over there and for the panel position afterwards, that would be great. So warm welcome for Chief Clarence.
Thank you, Gwen. Yes, it's been a good marriage. I've learned to say, yes, dear. It's actually going to be 42 years at the end of the month. But, you know, by her introduction, you can see that I've been involved in what we call politics for a large number of years, which is basically most of my life. And I learned a lot through all of those years about our responsibilities as Stalo, that we have to take care of the land and the resources. And of course the river and the fish that come from the river is one of the important resources that we depend on for our livelihood, whether we eat the fish, preserve the fish, even sell the fish, it's still part of our livelihood. And we have to make sure that the river is capable of continuing to have fish come up and down a river to their spawning streams and going out to the ocean and growing and making sure that they come back in a good way, so that it's not only for us, it's for a lot of you people who go out there and do your sport fishing, and it's also important for our neighbors that live up at the spawning grounds at the head of the rivers. So, you know, when we take a look at developments that occur along the river, it's been impacted for quite a few years now. And, you know, we have to try to say that we have to put a stop to some of these developments because it's a larger threat than others. So, you know, it's really important that you get informed yourselves, inform your neighbors to make sure that they understand what's at stake, you know, because part of the responsibility we have in terms of us as Stalo, we have to think about 7 generations into the future. You know, what are we going to be able to leave for our 7th generation? Are we going to leave them very poor land, no fish, poor air quality? Those are some of the things that we all have to think about because you're our neighbors now, you're in our territory. And part of that responsibility falls onto you now because we have to be responsible for our future generations. Because that's one of the things that we keep reminding ourselves, and we try to remind our children that they have a responsibility. And we keep telling them that, and in one sense the government has recognized it because this country has put in Section 35(1) our Aboriginal treaty rights are recognized and affirmed. But they really don't want to sit down and negotiate with us what those rights are. It costs us a lot of money to go to court to get to the Supreme Court of this country, where the Supreme Court has recognized that we have Aboriginal title to our territories. We have Aboriginal rights to fish. We have Aboriginal rights to hunt. And there are treaties across this country that have been signed by the governments in the past. But the governments don't honor those things. Even though the Supreme Court has recognized our title and our rights, not one piece of legislation or one law has changed to reflect that. So that's why it's always important that we have to sit down and talk together about how it is we can make changes so that our people in the future are going to benefit from the resources that we have today. So those are some of the things I just wanted to talk about this afternoon, and I'm really happy to see a lot of you come out today, because we could be all out shopping, I guess. But anyway, like I said, I just wanted to use that sort of an introduction into what it is we do. We could go to court, we could lead the governments in the boardrooms, we could have some good demonstrations out on the river if we wanted to, and we could use the press to try to get our message across. But it's always good to work together with people, not to get in a confrontation mode, because that doesn't always lead to a good result for some people, and mostly it's us that they're at the end of it all. So, you know, so like I say, it's good to sit down and talk. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Grand Chief Clarence Pennier. Our next speaker is a well-known character from the community. I'm talking about Glen Thompson, Friends of Chilliwack River Valley. You've probably read some of his pieces and also perhaps have seen some of the issues that he has been forefront on, such as conflict gravel and the logging of habitat, in particular habitat for the spotted owl. So I would like to call upon right now Glen Thompson from Friends of Chilliwack River Valley to share about the actual application itself.
Thanks very much. It's really special today for me to speak here because of a couple of other people in the room. One would be Rod. He's been very helpful, but especially Kat. I don't think I've ever spoken after one of the Grand Chiefs before, and it's really quite an honor, Kat. Thank you for coming. Another person is someone I consider to be a hero of mine, which is Mark. I don't know if I have the story straight, but my understanding was, Mark was on a canoe with some teenagers going down the Fraser River, and he came up with this great idea of saving the river, which isn't such a novel idea, but what makes him novel is he's actually very close to pulling it off, especially if we can win on issues like this one we have today. I'm also here to say that I'm a little bit angry with the city. The city is legally obligated to take these types of applications, and I don't have a problem with them looking at it. But when you see them repeatedly misleading people, including the media, I have a real problem with that. They're still saying that the city opted for an M6. The city did not opt for an M6. Under an M4, and if you look at their document very clearly, section 2.1, page 1 on the front page of this application, it says that under an M4, the activities proposed by Avitas would not be permitted. What does that mean? That means it's illegal. What they were proposing to do would be illegal under an M6. I rang up my brother, who was the chief administrator for the city of Prince Rupert for 33 years, and I said to him, "What does not permitted mean?" And he said, "It means it's illegal." The mayor is still putting out mistruths, making it sound like, well, the city's opting for that. Like they're partners, like she chose this. She had to do it. In fact, the city cannot decide to put someone through a zoning process. That would be illegal as well. If it was allowed under an M4, the company could simply do that. The city has no say in that. You can't tell someone that has the legal right to build a house, if it's zoned for that they can't build a house, that you're going to put the bar higher. That's not legal. That's not what a city government does. This is there because it's the only way to make it legal. It's not there to make environmentally correct decisions or raise the bar. So I get quite upset with the city saying that. And I get upset with their process. They continue on in their process and they say that, well, because of laws, we have to make all applications fair. We have to give equal time to all applications. So I went down to City Hall to see one of these applications. These types of applications include things like barking dogs, which isn't even under the city's mandate. It's an FVRD problem. But they spend a long time with all the city councillors discussing dogs. That was given equal time with the toxic waste plant. Actually, it was given more time than toxic waste plant. It had a stronger debate. So my theory is this. If you're a city councillor or the mayor, and you can't prioritize, and you can't tell the difference between a barking dog and a toxic waste plant, and you think you need to tell everyone publicly that these things should be equal, then I don't think you're doing your job properly. If you're being evaluated at your job site, and they say, well, how are you doing at your work? And the first response you get is, well, what I'm doing is legal. I'm not breaking any law. That's what the city's telling us. What we're doing is legal. Their bar is way too low. I expect them to obey the law. I think that's a given. But I also expect them to consult. I expect them to consult with First Nations. If you look at their site right now, there's a big thing in their next agenda saying we have the recommendation to not consult with First Nations or others about a rezoning application, which will move land that is currently zoned agricultural and environmental conservation to make it single-family dwellings. And the recommendation from staff is, we recommend you do not consult. I have a problem with the way the city's being run. I think they need some help down there. They seem to spend a lot of time going after Metro Vancouver. Could you open that last one? Got a special item there. And what they're worried about, she's saying, is mercury coming from the air. There's mercury in this bulb. If I was to drop this bulb, and I'm going to get rid of it right away, we'd have to evacuate the room. That is the Government of Canada's recommendation if you drop one of these bulbs. They're full of mercury. Supposedly these bulbs are going to a site where they'll be recycled. And the goal of the company, as stated in their application, is total recycling, they call it. Totally recycle that. Well, they're going to take the glass out of that bulb. They're going to take the metal out of that bulb. But what's the really important thing at a toxic recycling plant for mercury light bulbs? We're talking a lot of bulbs. 500,000 a month, 6 million bulbs a year. The really important issue with that bulb isn't the little piece of glass and the little piece of metal. It's the mercury. And they're not going to totally recycle. They're not going to recycle the mercury portion. The mercury portion will be taken out through a filter. It will then be sent to Quebec, where it will be stabilized. So it's an unstable material that is not being recycled. Saying that this is a recycling plant is a misnomer. If you go through their document, almost every item says, yes, but won't be recycled, or not that. The infectious waste, whatever the hell that is, will not be recycled. Most of the PCBs will be sent to Alberta to be burned in a waste incineration plant. The mercury will not be recycled. This is not a recycling plant. The other funny thing is they say that, don't worry, if there's a flood, we're going to evacuate everything to Alberta. So, on short notice, they're going to hire all kinds of truck drivers. They're going to put their staff on overtime. They're going to shut down their business. They're going to load everything up, and they're going to take it over the Rockies. Does this make any sense? Why would you want to put a plant in a location like this? Does this make any sense at all that you'd have this convoy of toxic waste crossing the Rockies? To me, it makes no sense. I don't think this thing is thought through. The new partners Chilliwack has had in their environmentally green plans, Avitas, Catamol, and others, are not environmentalists. They have no public input. This is not a 21st century solution, these mercury bulbs. We should not have a waste-based economy that ties our jobs and our industrial sites to waste-based products. If the mayor was an environmentalist, which she claims that she is, she should be working to ban these bulbs. Not to keep them alive by creating a facility that keeps this product on the market. This product does not belong on the market. It is not a green product. It is dangerous. I hope no one drops one in their house because it could affect your family. They should be working to get rid of these bulbs. They could go back to incandescents. They can go to LEDs. There's many other things we could be doing other than promoting mercury light bulbs. They're also being subsidized. When you take a regular light bulb, you can just throw it in the trash. These things, which are probably being thrown in the trash, by the way, they're probably ending up in landfills. The government has to pay extra money to specially collect them. And then they send them to Avitas, who, guess what? They get extra money for doing this sort of recycling kind of thing that they're doing. So the problem I have with this whole thing is that there's no input. The first thing the mayor will talk to you about when you mention this is, oh, what about what happened at Shiam? As though that has anything to do with this.